Good morning, rise and shine. It is the start of a brand new week here on Ireland AM.
It is. It's Monday, the 29th of May. Do you know what, Tommy? There's lots in store this morning.
Sure is. We've got a busy
We always have
show.
loads in store.
Coming up, car park pressure at Dublin Airport. You might have heard about it. It is causing headaches for holiday makers. We are going to discuss how to avoid travel chaos this summer. How?
Go to Shannon.
Also, get in touch. Did you turn up to Dublin Airport and you couldn't get parking? Or do you know somebody who did because you're obviously on your holidays? But 0896 111
They could be watching us on the fire. We never know.
Yeah.
You could be watching us in Spain right now. After a broadcasting legend, Michael Lyster, and three-time All-Ireland winner Tomás Mulcahy, and reuniting over their passion for punditry.
Can't wait for that. Plus, after 9 o'clock, we're going to suss out the signs of a serial killer with one of the UK's leading crime experts and psychologists, McAdoo.
I was reading, apparently shaving your face without telling anyone. It's a big sign of being mad, just mad. Look how young he looks since he got rid of the beard. You look like you should be doing your communion. Anyway,
Thank you.
Alan, what do you think about the beard being gone?
We like the beard, Tommy.
Love
Would you not
the
have trimmed
beard.
yours? No.
Stop it, will you? Listen, Jack O'Keefe's going to be serving up deep-fried seafood a little later on. We're also going to be chatting to professional stunt double about working with A-listers on movies. Plus, we're going to, you two are going to be feeling, well, maybe me as well, going to be feeling the burn with a yoga sculpt class. Yoga sculpt. Now, good morning, Deric, who's always does a bit of yoga. Do you do a bit of yoga, don't you, Deric?
Oh, I do. I love a bit of yoga, Al, and I think you'll enjoy the class this morning. Anyway, we're live here in Dundrum in Dublin this morning. The beaches were packed yesterday. Ice cream conditions once again out there today with temps into the high teens, low 20s. So once again, a high risk of sunburn, would you believe, out there today. But we've come down here to Airfield Estate. We're getting quite earthy, in fact, this Monday morning because we're talking all things soil sustainability. We're talking habitat protection and food security. So celebrating the world of soil out there this Monday. But guys, what a game of hurling we had yesterday down the Gaelic grounds in Limerick. It was a tight scrape in for Limerick, wasn't it?
It was, sure, but of course, they did it again.
They did, but the Gaelic grounds, they were rammed. That aerial shot was fantastic.
Incredible.
It was unbelievable to see, and huge commiserations to Cork because they were fantastic.
Absolutely.
Like, really, they were. They kept on coming back.
And that's
they were in
the
charge
crazy
for
thing,
when-
they're out. They're out
And they're
completely
so
now
good.
as well. We are going to be
gonna be
discussing
discussing
that in about 15 minutes. So before
agree.
all that, let's get over and get the news now with Cliodhna Russell.
Thanks, Tommy. Good morning. In Turkey, President Tayyip Erdogan has retained the presidency in a runoff election by winning more than 52% of the vote. It comes 2 weeks after he fell short of scoring an outright victory in the first round of what was widely seen as the country's most consequential election. In speeches after the result was announced, Turkey's longest-serving leader said that the winners were all 85 million citizens. A motorcyclist in his 50s has died following a crash in Meath. The collision involving a car and a motorcycle happened in Dunshaughlin yesterday evening at around 6:15. The motorcyclist was taken to Connolly Hospital in Blanchardstown, where he later passed away. 2 men and a woman who were in the car were not injured. Gardaí are appealing for any witnesses to come forward. A public appeal for information to help locate the remains of the disappeared is due to be made by the Minister for Justice, Simon Harris, when he visits Braggan Bog in County Monaghan later today. The Independent Commission for the Location of Victims' Remains is currently searching the bog for the remains of Columba McVeigh, who was 19 when he went missing in 1975. Today's appeal follows a meeting between the families of the disappeared and the Minister earlier this month.
Of course, with the passage of time, it certainly provides opportunity in terms of technological advances, but it also provides a moment of concern because as people get older, as people pass on, that fear that information will be lost. So I'm really appealing to anybody who has information or perhaps has been sitting on information or concealing information for many years, or perhaps somebody who now has come across something that they may think is relevant, to please come forward. You can do it in complete and utter confidence, and you can also do it in a way that that information will only be used towards trying to find Columba's remains and bring him back to his family.
A fire which broke out at a high-rise apartment building in Blanchardstown in West Dublin yesterday evening has been brought under control. 7 units of Dublin Fire Brigade attended the fire at the apartment block close to the Crown Plaza Hotel. It's believed the blaze broke out at around 4:30 yesterday afternoon. Gardaí were at the scene along with ESB and fire crews. No injuries were reported, but around 10 apartments are understood to have been impacted on a number of floors. In the US, the details of a tentative deal between the White House and Republican opponents to allow the country raise its debt ceiling has been agreed. The US Congress will this week vote on the plan to prevent America running out of money to pay its bills.
The US looked set to run out of money to pay its bills in days. Tense talks took place between President Joe Biden's administration and his Republican opponents to prevent the breach of the debt ceiling, something that could cause damage to the US and global economy. A tentative agreement to prevent the default emerged over the weekend, but has yet to be fully endorsed. The final text will be poured over by both sides ahead of a US Congress vote on Wednesday on whether or not to accept it. In principle, the plan, which President Biden says is a compromise, allows the government to raise the debt ceiling and reduce government spending. It would mean the US could keep borrowing money until 2025 and is seen as a major step towards avoiding a default. Some Conservative Republican members initially say the proposed deal is unacceptable. Graeme McQueen, Virgin Media News.
And finally, it's good news for sun worshippers, with temperatures potentially reaching as high as 25 degrees over the coming week. Saturday was the warmest day of the year so far, with a top temperature of 23.3 degrees recorded at Mount Dillon in County Roscommon. And the good weather is predicted to stick around in the run-up to the bank holiday weekend.
So certainly we're expecting to see widespread temperatures in the low 20s and possibly even nudging into the mid 20s. So I certainly wouldn't rule out that we might see this year's record again being broken in the coming days. I mean, temperatures at the moment are a few degrees above average. Nothing too out of the ordinary, but yeah, certainly some nice warm weather as we move into the summer.
We compare 14 insurance quotes to get you the best deal. So choose chill and work smarter, not harder.
Thank you, Jaron. A very good morning. We're live here in Dundrum, County Dublin this morning as we celebrate the World of Soil down here at Airfield Estate a little bit later on this morning. So that's all to come right across the next couple of hours. Now, out there, in terms of weather, let's take a look at how it's shaping up with Ronan McIntyre with us on cameras. And we had a beautiful weekend for many areas across the country. And in fact, a pretty decent start out there this morning now. A gorgeous sunrise onto the east coast. And in fact, plenty of bright spells now beginning to edge through as we wake our way up into a brand new week in those light to locally moderate easterly breezes. Now, right across the day, in fact, that lovely ridge of high pressure, it's nestled just through the northwest of the country at the moment. It is pretty stable, so it's going to hang on with us right across the next couple of days, bringing with it more dry, sunny and settled weather. Now, because of that high pressure located to the northwest, in fact, through the west, that's where we're going to see the warmest of those values out there today. A little bit cooler into eastern spots with temps there of 17 to 22 degrees. So do stay safe, because once again there's a high risk of sunburn due to that high UV index. Right across into this evening, into tonight then, we're looking at more dry, settled conditions underneath that high cloud cover. Again, we could see some patchy mist to take its way into your Tuesday morning, with overnight lows back to 7 to 11 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up for now as the sun shines. A beautiful start out there down here in Dundrum and County Dublin. We'll catch you later on at 7:35.
Chill Insurance work harder so you can work smarter. We compare 14 quotes to get you the best deal.
Now, we've been sitting here discussing the Munster and Leinster Championship and everything. So we're going to do those permutations in a while, but now it's time to take a look at today's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Times. Doctors say insurers are denying patients vital cancer drugs. Two leading oncologists claim that private health insurers, Irish Life and Leia, they're hiding behind the lengthy process for approving drugs and denying patients access to proven cancer treatments.
Mortgage rates set for another summer of rises, experts warn. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. Charlie Weston reports that the European Central Bank is likely to increase its key lending rates 2 more times before the end of the summer. That's according to experts. It could be another 2 years before ECB rates start to fall.
The Examiner leads with TD's turn on Donoghue over spending. Disgruntled Fine Gael TDs have hit out at Prudent Pascal, fearing that the Minister for Public Expenditure's cautious approach to spending will cost them seats at the next general election.
7 families homeless after apartments fire. That's a top story on the Daily Mail. 7 units of the fire brigade were needed to extinguish a fire in Blanchardstown, West Dublin. Despite extensive damage, Gardaí said no injuries were reported, with locals have described an absolute miracle.
The Sun's front page reads Maura in home raid terror. Maura Higgins has been left shaken after a gang of raiders targeted her home and tried to steal vehicles at the Love Island star's property in Essex.
The Star leads with Airbnb. The paper reports there are 8 times more family homes on Airbnb compared with properties available for long-term renters. We'll bring you more on this in the newspaper review just after 7:30.
The Herald goes with fears Kinahan cash is funding terrorists. Fears the crime proceeds being laundered by the Kinahan cartel would end up in the coffers of terror groups is why the US went after the crime gang, according to a retired Garda expert.
And finally, the Mirror reads with Holly Isles Day. Defiant Holly Willoughby has pledged to stick with This Morning as ITV faces calls to axe a popular daytime show. We are going to discuss that at 7:35 also.
It was this weekend, the WhatsApp groups going, what's going on, what's happening? It's just, I think everyone's talking about it. Now, we are going to be turning to the back pages next. It was a cracker of a weekend for sports fans.
Amazing. But what does it all mean now? We're going to discuss the Munster Hurling Championship, the All-Ireland Hurling Championship.
The Leinster and how,
and
it's
we
mad.
might maybe squeeze in that Leeds got relegated from the Premier League. All that going to be discussed after the break.
Maybe. That's in a minute.
Now, in case you hadn't spotted, this past week has seen ITV's This Morning's future thrown into jeopardy following Phillip Schofield's exit.
Joining us with the latest is journalist and media consultant Enda Brady. Good morning, Enda. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we just start with the kind of what has happened up until this point with Phillip Schofield and this downfall that an awful lot of people didn't expect?
So he had denied a lot, and it was this relationship, a gay affair with a much younger colleague, which has saw him come undone. He left the channel last week. He claimed it was of his own volition, and then it emerged that it was very much the idea of management. And basically a statement at the weekend, he had to clarify quite a few matters with the newspapers in the UK. And we were in the rather bizarre situation of Phillip Schofield basically confirming that the relationship was consensual and not illegal. I mean, it was an extraordinary statement. Schofield's 60-odd now. The young man, the other person at the heart of the relationship, is in his early 20s at the time that it started. So Phillip Schofield was the most famous daytime TV presenter in the UK. He was a golden star of ITV, someone who was on the face of it, squeaky clean, could do no wrong, made millions. And now his career is pretty much over in disgrace.
So it looks like this had been brought up to the ITV management. There had been an investigation into it. Into the affair.
Yeah.
He had lied to the management, had lied to his agent. Looks like he had lied to his partner, Holly Willoughby, on the show as well. What did we make of her statement yesterday?
It's extraordinary, Tommy, really. You know, Holly Willoughby's extremely famous, very well respected, and I think she had a great friendship with Schofield and she really trusted him, and I think she feels understandably quite hurt, perhaps bitter as well about what has happened. And basically her statement, she said she'd taken some time to process everything that had come out and had emerged, and she just feels really, really let down. And I think the problem for her now is trying to keep that show going. Without him, they were the golden couple, the two of them on that sofa together 13, 14 years, and she's now left in a position where she probably feels very angry privately with Schofield, and she's now fighting to save her career and that show, because there's reports this morning in the UK they've lost about £2 million worth of sponsorship deals. So lots of money gone on this.
Yeah, there are reports and an awful lot of the papers in the UK about Holly Willoughby. There's one here in the Mirror, Holly, I'll be staying, in relation to what she's going to do on This Morning. So she has said that she was indeed very hurt, but an awful lot of the chat this weekend was about this affair, because Phillip Schofield met this person when they were 15, but nothing happened. As you said, he had to point out that everything was legal and consensual. Yes, he was older.
Yeah, so Schofield met this young guy. Schofield was asked to speak at his theatre school. That was how it started, the first time he'd met the guy. He was then asked to get him a job in TV, or to get him some help getting into television, and Schofield did that. And it all kind of developed from there. There was an internal investigation in 2020. It's clear now that that investigation barely scratched the surface. And I think Schofield was such a powerful character, wielded so much influence behind the scenes, that the bosses just didn't want to touch it. And I think there'll be some very serious questions for ITV management now. And if I was making a prediction in the next week or so, I would say deputy heads will roll.
Wow, OK. Well, it's something that the stories just keep on breaking day on day with that one as well. And I do have to finish quickly. You are in Istanbul, I gather, at the moment as well. President Erdogan, he won. It's the top news story, but it's not really much of a surprise, is it?
Well, look, he had a lead of 2.5 million votes going into the runoff yesterday. So they had the election 2 weeks ago, and basically nobody got a 50% plus one vote. So they had the first ever runoff in Turkish presidential election history. So he was up against another wily campaigner, a man called Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, and basically huge turnout yesterday. The votes were counted very quickly. Within 3 hours, they had like the real kind of inklings of the results, and it ended 52% in favour of Erdogan. So joyous scenes on the streets of Istanbul last night. There's a lot of noise, a lot of partying, and he now continues for the next 5 years here.
Enda Brady, we're going to leave you there because you're on a deadline as well. We'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you so much, Enda.
Cappuccino's just arriving now.
Oh, is that what it is? He's out in the square. That's what's happening. I love it's like, Enda, you're in the middle. It's a huge election going on. Can we talk about Phil and Holly, though? Can we do that?
Something's important. Sean Defoe is here for that, though, political correspondent with Bauer Media. Great to have you, Sean. Let's move on to another story. In a lot of the papers this morning, it's all about property again. Housing and Airbnb investigation, though, is a big one.
Yeah, this is across a couple of the papers, a few good headlines out of it. Airbnb in the Star, Nowhere to Live in the Mirror as well. And basically, they've done an investigation. What they're reporting is that there are nearly 8 times the amount of property suitable for full families to live in on Airbnb compared to the long-term rental market. So that there are these properties, they may be a 3-bed semi-D, whatever it is, that you could get for 2 nights over a weekend, but a full family could be living in it there.
So what do they want to do with it, though?
Well, there's a couple of holes in the data here, OK? So the Airbnb won't release its full data for what is a private home and what is an extra home, if you like. And there are different regulations about that. So if it is an extra home, if you own 2 properties, for example, and you're letting it out, particularly in a rent pressure zone, you have to get a change of planning permission, or you can rent out your own home for up to 90 days a year. So if you were on holidays for 2 weeks, you could let out your home for 2 weeks and make a bit of that money back. And that's perfectly fine because you're living in it full time. The question is about the other ones, the ones that could actually be long-term rentals, could be people's homes, and instead you have people making maybe €500 a night for a concert weekend or whatever it happens to be.
Now, this is not a surprise. Almost every single summer it is done that there are 12,000 properties up on Airbnb. In Ireland, it correlates to the homeless figures that we have. There has been one prosecution under the legislation for Airbnb, and just a few weeks ago, Ireland went to the European Commission going, this is what we're going to do to tackle Airbnb. And the European Commission said, this is toothless, this is completely pointless, and it won't work.
Exactly, and it's tied up there. Basically what it is a register that they're talking about. Having a register of these different properties and who's on it, and sort of changing the planning permissions. But like as Eoghan Corry is pointing out in the papers this morning, you know, what good is that? You know, if this change of planning permission isn't properly enforced and you're not refusing all these changes of planning permission, it's no real use. And again, without that full data, the government can't say, well, OK, there's a very easy 5,000 we could claw back there or whatever. So, look, it's a difficult one, but it's one that needs to clamp down on. And look...
But the fact is, these are people's private homes. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, some of them are private homes and some of them aren't.
Some of them aren't, but I would just say that, again, and it is a shame, this has happened because of Airbnb globally around the world. We know that it's putting pressure on the homeless situation. But again, you know, it is... The government still haven't been building enough houses.
No, and that's the fundamental problem, because in a functioning market, this isn't an issue. You should be able to get a rental house, and you should be able to have somewhere to live as well.
And if someone owns it and that's what they want to do with it, you know what? Like, that's up to them as well. But then when we do see homeless figures topping 12,000 for the first time, 3,500 of those children, like it is It's shocking,
It's
really,
crazy.
when
Like,
see
and
that
you
sort
know,
of number.
I'm old enough to remember when 10,000 was a shocker, and they were manipulating all the figures to make sure it didn't get to 10,000 because that was 3 years ago. It's not that long ago when they were trying to hit that barrier. It all came down during COVID, and we kind of forgot about it.
But
now it's beyond 12,000.
It's not rocket science that there is a correlation between the two. We'd love to hear how people feel about this. 0896 111 111. Now, are we going to
snip, hooray,
snip?
Ronan Keating.
I'm over, like,
Is this
just making me uncomfortable straight away. Why do you think anything that involves snipping and down there? It's
What
not.
is Ronan Keating
Dad
doing?
of 5.
Ronan Keating is getting the snip.
Getting the vasectomy.
The snip.
Fair play to him.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's his right to do. The bit that freaked me out about this, right, is he says that
he's holding himself.
I know, it's just it just makes me uncomfortable. But the bit that he said is his brother got it done, and he told me all sorts of stories. He was awake when he got it done.
Yeah. Oh, I think you are, yeah.
Oh, no, that sounds horrendous.
It's a really easy operation.
Yeah, okay, I'm
Do you
sure,
know what I think
I believe you.
funny is the smell that he said.
He said there's a funny smell. I didn't need to know that. I didn't need to know that this hour of a Monday morning either. So thank you very much for bringing
You know
that
what
into
I
my life,
heard
by the way.
is that this strap at your belly as well. There you have it.
Oh my God.
That's what they say. Sean Defoe, Power Media, thank you very much for
Don't know
that
what to
this
say
morning.
to that. Thank you.
Alan, what's coming up next?
I'm saying nothing. Now, with the lack of parking spaces at Dublin Airport, we're going ways to discuss well, is there going to be travel chaos at Dublin Airport this summer? We're going to find out after the break. Thanks for staying with us. Now, car park pressures at Dublin Airport is causing headaches for thousands of holidaymakers, including the one sitting beside me here.
I don't have one planned anyway.
No, but you were trying to book it, weren't you?
I was. We were looking at trying to book. I was just trying to check, and in a couple of months' time, you cannot get certain car park spaces in Dublin Airport. It's not happening. Here to discuss what to expect when travelling abroad this summer is Graeme McQueen, Media Relations Manager with the DAA and Travel Journalist Eoghan Corry. Thank you both so much for being here. Graeme, we have been hearing so much about this quick park that closed in 2019, and it's got 6,000 spaces that are now gone. And is this causing all the issues? And why doesn't the DAA, why haven't you bought it? Why aren't there these car parking spaces?
Yeah, you're right. That is causing an issue at the moment. 6,000 spaces sitting idle. It was formerly known, your viewers will know it as Quick Park, and that closed before COVID. It has never reopened. It did go up for sale at the end of last year, and we, as DAA, have put in a bid to buy that car park. That bid was accepted. That deal has now been referred to the Competition Authority, so we're waiting on approval to buy it, to get it open. If we got the keys today, we could open that within a couple of weeks, and everybody would have a car parking space this summer. But that looks unlikely at the moment.
Okay.
Why has it gone to the Competitions Authority?
Because they would feel that we would control too much of the car parking out there. So that is an issue for them. It's a legitimate process.
Yeah.
It's right that it goes through that process, but we want that car park back in action. We want to, ideally, we would operate it, but we need to get those spaces back so that people can park.
Well, Eoghan, let's talk about that. Is that a worry that the DA would then be controlling everything out there, that there'd be issues about price, about how it's being set and what's happening?
It's really interesting because most airports, there is one operator. There isn't this notion that you have private, major car park close to the airport operated by a private operator. The DA objected initially to Quick Park opening as a car park a long time ago. And it was sort of the set that you run the airport car parks. I think that the competition, that they do like the notion of competing car parks, but there isn't the same in the other Irish airports and in most of the English airports. So it would be very easy for them to say, OK, while we're making the decision, open the car park, the DA have the buses. It's not just, parking your car. You need to have that system of buses and drop off and everything like that.
So if it's a private car park and you park there, how do you get to the airport?
The DA can do it in a week. And, it's
But is it right for the consumer?
It isn't as big a deal for the consumer as most of the competition issues that come before this programme and other programmes. It's not abnormal to have more than one car park at an airport, and almost all the car parks are run by Dublin Airport. This is the only one that wasn't. I don't really know why it hit the buffers so solidly,
So
because there is options for anyone else to operate in competition with Dublin Airport for car parks. There are other options. I was at the AUL under-12 final myself yesterday. I was thinking of leaving my car there to go to the airport later in the week. The thing is that there are hotels that are running services in.
Yeah, the shuttle buses, the Clayton and all the ones around.
And there are options for
but they're limited, though. You go there and they're full. And this is
very
something
small numbers. Very small numbers.
And we do want to ask you, Graeme, because you were saying it was a year ago that you were here because of the queues in Dublin Airport, and your new chief executive has come out and sort of said, if we want to maintain the levels that we're at now, where there's only like 15-minute queues, they're going to have to charge more, or he wants to charge more. Is that going to happen?
Well, what that would mean is a charge on the airline, not on the passenger. So it wouldn't really affect the
but the airlines would then
price.
pass it on to the consumers.
To the passenger.
Well, you will. Passenger will end up paying more.
You're talking a very modest sum here. We're looking to up that price by around €1. At the moment, it's around €8. We'd like to put that up to, say, €9-10. That would allow us to deliver a much better service, which we know people want. But going back to your point there about where we've came from in the last 12 months, when I sat here last year, we had about 96,000 passengers going through per day, and we were really struggling. Today, we've got about 110,000 passengers going through. They'll get through in less than 15 minutes. So a massive turnaround in the operation.
Will that continue during the summer?
Absolutely. That's the aim. We are hoping to get 90% of passengers through this summer in less than 20 minutes. If we can deliver that, I think we'd be one of the best performing airports in Europe, and we're confident that we will.
There often has been an awful lot of controversy in relation to plans for taxis, drop-down pick-up areas at Dublin Airport, trying to get rid of all of that. So as that people really are... We don't have a public transport system really out to the airport. We don't have a metro. We don't have anything. Taking those away from consumers so that I can just drop my elderly parent off at the front door. Like, is that things that you need to, like, sort out and you're, like, ensure that you won't bring in €2 charges to drop someone off at the airport?
We've committed. We're not going to bring in that charge, certainly anytime soon. It's not something we're looking to do, so that there'll always be a free option to drop off at Dublin Airport. We can say that.
You can say that now.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There is a really good bus network there at the moment, but it needs to get better. Passenger numbers are growing. Long term, we need to look at the Metrolink project as well. We need to have a metro to Dublin Airport.
Owen, very quickly, we are seeing travel disruption on an awful lot of European, the French air traffic control, and now Spain. There's other places like that, Italy. Are we going to see massive disruptions during the summer? And there's no bargains out there. You're just saying to me before we came on air, you won't get a bargain this summer to go anywhere.
No, the prices were put in very high in the system. Everyone was complaining last November, December, looking at the summer, and the demand has met that supply. In fact, the demand has come a little bit faster than anyone anticipated. We saw that at Easter. The problem with strikes is not going to go away. Yes, we're going to have disruption. The French are very, very good at timing the strikes for the maximum demand weekend. That affects overflights in France very famously. Italy will allow overflights. France will not when they go on strike. We also have security workers in Germany going on strike. So there will be that level of disruption. But you've got to remember this. Aviation is very good at recovering. They deal with weather, ice storms, all of that all the time.
They get it all.
They're very good at getting the
your flight was cancelled on that day.
0896 111 1. Eoghan Corry and Graeme McQueen, thank you both so much for being here. We'll be back with you on Ireland Day, I'm sure. Welcome back to your Monday show. Still to come, we're talking serial killers, stunts, and sports. They all go together beautifully.
They sure
do. They do.
On the way, DAA and broadcasting legends Tomás Mulcahy and Michael Lyster, they're here. They're going to be talking to us about reuniting for a new podcast.
You'll never guess the name.
Oh, what was it about?
You'll never guess the name. After 9, we delve into the minds of serial killers and find out how to spot if you could be living next door to one. I mean, if they're wrecking your bins, you never know what's going on with them,
I don't think that's going to be it.
No, it might be something a little bit more.
Plus, from Jessica Chastain to Chris Pine, we're going to meet the Clonakilty stunt performer working alongside the biggest Hollywood A-listers.
Alan has kept the weekend barbecue vibes going. What's cooking, Alan?
We certainly have. Jack O'Keefe is on chef duties this morning. And you think when it's fish, it's going to be healthy. But not with Jack. He's just going to deep fry everything.
I just walk around town with a deep fried fryer in my arm, just cuddling it like a child, going, come on.
So what are you doing then? You are deep frying everything.
Jeez, it's definitely a Monday morning anyway, because I have to think there, what am I doing while I stare at the fish? I'm going doing Frito Misto.
Frito Misto.
An Italian classic, and it's basically everything but the kitchen sink deep fried. Fish, veggies, the whole lot.
The vegetables are deep fried
They're all
as well.
deep fried together. It's like a deep fried salad. My kind of healthy.
No, it mightn't be the healthiest now, but I'm sure it's going to be very tasty, and it always is with Jack. Now, Deric, will the sunshine hold for us for the rest of the week?
Al, you know what? We've had a beautiful week in terms of that sunshine last week. In fact, that lovely ridge of high pressure is hanging on with us right across the next couple of days. In fact, right into next weekend. We're down here at Airfield Estate in Dundrum in South County Dublin at the moment. We're talking all things soil here this morning, guys. We have a brand new exhibition that is opening to the public as well. We're talking food sustainability, habitat protection as well. We're going to head inside and we'll have more on that in and around 8:45 this morning. We'll catch you later on, guys.
Thank you very much, Deric. This is the last thing I want to see today. I feel I spent the whole weekend digging up weeds out of the soil.
Mr. Gardener.
No,
That's it.
Well, the sun is shining, can't beat it.
We compare 14 insurance quotes to get you the best deal. So choose chill and work smarter, not harder.
Thank you very much, Ger. We're live here in Airfield Estate in Dundrum, South County Dublin this morning. We are talking all things soil and the importance of it to support life, support food and biodiversity. So that's all to come in and around 8:45 this morning. Now, we're getting past 8 o'clock here at the moment, and weather-wise, it is a beautiful start out there as we kick off a brand new week. Dry, bright and sunny for most areas. That ridge of high pressure is keeping conditions really settled now, with some cloud cover lingering around in those light to locally moderate easterly winds. Now, in fact, right across today, as I mentioned, that high pressure, it is centred actually just off the northwestern corner of the country, and it's with us right across the week. Not much budge in it at all, and in fact it's going to bring with it once again some nice warm sunny days today, in fact right across into the weekend as well. And those temperatures, quite warm, a high risk of sunburn because the UV index is quite high out there today. Warmest through parts of the west, we're talking highs there of around 21, 22 degrees, and a little bit cooler there into eastern areas at 16 to 17. Now right across into tonight again, mainly dry, calm and settled, clear skies, a little bit of high cloud cover as well, with some patchy mist forming to take its way into your Tuesday morning, with overnight lows back to 7 to 11 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up for now. We'll be back again live at 8:35.
Chill Insurance work harder so you can work smarter. We compare 14 quotes to get you the best deal.
It's time now to take a look at today's papers. We'll start with the Irish Times. Doctors say insurers are denying patients vital cancer drugs. Two leading oncologists claim that private health insurers Irish Life and Leah are hiding behind the lengthy process for approving drugs and denying patients access to proven cancer treatments.
Mortgage rates set for another summer of rises, experts warn. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. The European Central Bank is likely to increase its key lending rates 2 more times before the end of the summer. That's according to experts.
The Examiner leads with TDs turn on Donoghue over spending. Disgruntled Fine Gael TDs have hit out at prudent Pascal, fearing that Pascal's cautious approach to spending will cost them seats at the next general election.
7 families homeless after apartments fire. That's the top story on the Daily Mail. 7 units of the fire brigade were needed to extinguish a fire in Blanchardstown, West Dublin. Despite extensive damage, Gardaí said no injuries were reported.
The Sun's front page reads, Mora in home raid terror. Maura Higgins has been left shaken after a gang of raiders targeted her home and tried to steal vehicles at the Love Island Star's property in Essex.
The Star leads with Airbnb. The paper reports there are 8 times more family homes on Airbnb compared with properties available for long-term renters.
The Herald's front page fears Kinahan cash is funding terrorists. Fears that crime proceeds being laundered by the Kinahan cartel would end up in the coffers of terror groups is why the US went after the crime gang, according to a retired Garda expert.
And finally, the Mirror reads, Defiant Holly Willoughby has pledged to stick with This Morning as ITV faces calls to axe the popular daytime show. And that's all we're chatting about this morning.
That's all we're talking about is Phil and Holly. But we were also talking about Dublin Airport and the lack of parking spaces if you are planning to fly out this weekend, and we went.
It's not lack of no parking spaces.
No parking spaces.
You go online now.
You can't, because we went online ourselves here this morning, and this is the message that you get from the website, the DAA website. We regret to say that parking at Dublin Airport is sold out in the coming days. Please consider using alternative transport options to get to the airport.
I mean, that's
the fabulous alternatives we have.
But that's June. Like, what's it going to be like in the next couple of months?
Yeah.
And the start of June, children still in school. So when the holiday season really peaks.
It's going to be insane.
So parked in a Dublin airport recently, they charged me €4 an hour. That is €96 a day.
Ridiculous.
€96 a day is what you paid for parking.
Because there are some hotels that have the shuttle bus from the hotels to the airport.
Yeah.
But you can't have, like, that's, if you were doing that a day over a week, you're nearly paying twice for your holiday.
It's just the stress. Like, if you're going to be, like, the airport is already a stressful place.
Yeah.
And particularly if you're taking kids or whatever else. Leanne said, I'm due to fly out at the end of July. I'm already having difficulty booking parking. I keep checking every day, but I think I'll have to come up with an alternative.
Now, I would say, and I've often offered to go get my mum to bring her to the airport, say she's in Dublin, not in Shannon. And she loves the air coach. She's like, or Airfield gets you right there. She's like, I go in there,
if you're
and I'm
on
right
the air
brought
coach,
to the door.
but then,
It's fantastic.
well, look
but
at
the air
this,
coaches
though.
are packed out as well.
They are, yeah,
So
absolutely. You have to book them.
and-
But at least, like, with an awful lot of them, with the green bus or whatever's going on, like, they're going every 15 minutes. Like, there's a lot of them that are on at this stage, and it is a very good service.
And you see what happens then, even if you do get the parking at Dublin Airport. Niamh came in, she said, on the 8th of May, we landed back to Dublin Airport from Lanzarote at 12:30 a.m. Like, so it's 4.5 hours, maybe 2 hours before the hand and waiting in the airport. I would have a 5-month-old baby on our suitcases, 25 minutes waiting for the shuttle bus for the red car park. It turned up, it was full.
It's
so
just
they're
the
there. So
infrastructure.
eventually a man moved over and let me on because I had a 5-month-old baby. I was asking anybody on the bus, can you please let my husband on as well so we can at least get to our car? God knows what the drive was there.
But, like, it's ridiculous. If the
crazy.
DAA are going to bring in all these flights, they have to have the infrastructure to deal with it.
Yeah, totally.
You can't just bring in and say, oh, yeah, we're going to offer these flights
And Aer
to fly all over
Lingus
the
and
world.
Ryanair announcing new flights every week.
And then realise that they don't have the structure. You
But
can't
also,
get through
DAA are going,
security.
we deal with airplanes. So, you know, why am I
No, but they
sorting
do.
your
No,
business?
they don't. They deal with the
deal with the
structure.
airport.
They deal with the airport,
Yeah,
and that's
and
that's their job.
I know
is to
that.
get you into the airport, look after you, and make sure the facilities are there for the passengers arriving.
Listen, let us know what you think on this. Are you travelling this summer? And do you think it's appropriate that if there are flights available there, they should have parking, they should have the facilities to be able to put on the best service that is available?
Well, now,
shout out your local.
And Eamon Ryan, sort of, we need to get something sorted.
But are you
there.
thinking about going to a different airport, flying out from a different airport as a result? 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from
Cycle
you.
to the airport. After the break, Michael Lester and Tomás Mulcahy are going to tell us the graph for the Gap Punditry and podcast.
You're thinking of a business.
I tell you, little
Thinking of a new
suitcase on
business.
either side, little tuk-tuk.
Hello, welcome back. Sorry, we were just talking about something else there. Our next guests are broadcasting legends involved in Irish sport on and off the pitch for over 35 years.
They sure are here to chat about bringing their passionate punditry back in a new podcast. It's Tomás Mulcahy and Michael Lester. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to have you with us.
I should, I suppose, be fair to Tomás. He's not as old as I am, so I was there for 35 years.
And listen,
Like, I'm the boss. I was there for longer than
He's telling me
Tomás.
how he's
I was
telling me
there
he's
for
the
longer than
boss, yeah. I
Tomás.
was only there for 25 years.
He only has 3 All-Irelands, you know what I mean?
no biggie. Well, listen, no doubt you'll keep manners on him as well.
Yeah.
But Tomás, we have to ask you, we were discussing it first thing this morning, the Munster Hurling Championship. Epic yesterday between Cork and Limerick. But unfortunately, like, Cork have been so close, but they're now completely out.
Yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of debate, I suppose, over the next couple of days about that, and people have to tune in maybe to the game on Sunday.
No, give them a teaser.
I'll give them a teaser, yeah. Yeah, I was there yesterday. It was an incredible occasion.
It was amazing.
I mean, a 4 o'clock throw-in, the sun is shining, over 40,000 people there. The colour, but the hurling didn't disappoint. It was an incredible game, and yeah, Cork would be disappointed. They'd look back in the game, a couple of errors that we made, a couple of handling errors, maybe giving away a couple of sloppy goals, proved very, very costly at the end of it.
Yeah.
To lose a match by a point, and now your season is gone. At the end of May, that you're finished, right? Now, can we have complaints about it in Cork? We can't, because we are the same as every other team in Munster. You get your opportunity, you get 3 matches, 4 games, whatever like that, right, to get to the next level, right? And we didn't do that, right? And, you know, people expected Tipperary to beat Waterford, but Cork came along yesterday. Yeah, we big hopes going down there that we could maybe topple Limerick.
Tomas,
So,
I thought Cork, I was at the match as well yesterday, you know, it was unbelievable, kind of, for a neutral, kind of, you know. I thought Cork played very well, but made a couple of basic errors in the full back line, and you know,
well, they say goals.
Well, you know, Galway
they say goals win matches.
I was watching the scoreline of the Galway Dublin match, and I said to myself, like, this is not real.
This is what's happening. But it does
then
feel, when it comes to the hurling, because Munster is so exciting and explosive, that it's almost a shame that we're not going to get to see more of it as the summer goes on.
Yeah, and I think that's the big issues that are going to have to be debated over the next couple of weeks, in terms of everything is compacted into a couple of weeks. Even we're talking about kind of, you know, Tommy, you've been down that path before in terms of the sports scientist, you know, the player burnout, the recovery time, right? I mean, the level of intensity in the games that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, and you have a short window to recovery. If you got an injury, you have no chance of getting back for the next match. So I think there is a gap there that we could maybe expend the championship a small bit, right? To say that this is going to be finished in July. We had 17th of July last year, everything was gone.
I know.
And look what we're witnessing now. And it's not just about Munster. I'm glad, because people are saying to me, I'm always talking about Munster. Leinster, to be fair, played their part yesterday, right? You had a Galway-Dublin match that was drawn. You had Wexford toppling Kilkenny. And the goals in that game, the entertainment was incredible.
But no one could watch it if you weren't there, though.
Yes.
But Michael, is it doing it a disservice? Like this whole new structure.
Yeah. But I mean, like this, as Tomás said, the problem here is they've expanded the seasons in the football and the hurling, and particularly the hurling at the moment, and then contracted the amount of time to play it. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. And you know it as a professional sports person, the recovery time needed and all that. I saw one of the Limerick players, he was substituted in the second half yesterday. Tomás, he staggered off the field, and he wasn't injured. He had just given so much during that hour, kind of, you know, that he just literally threw the hurl and the helmet down and kind of fell into his seat, you know.
But then we talk to players here, and they're kind of like, well, we want to just keep on going. Yeah. Do you know, we want it in a different way so that you're not out in November, you know, in the misery.
The misery, absolutely. I agree with you. But, like, hurling for us is a game that's played at the best time of the year, at the best time in terms of weather, that you can go, see the match, pair of shorts, short sleeves, the whole lot, enjoy the crack. But the ground is hard, the grass is cut, and everybody loves that, right? And you can still have that in July, you can still have that into an August period, which gives a little bit of gap for teams, to be honest with you, right? Everything is just in for a couple of weeks. And in the middle of that, you have under-20 championships, you have minor championships, all played in the last couple of weeks as well. And to me, it's very, very compacted.
Full on.
It's
so
so
much
full on.
It's impossible for someone just watching on to keep track of exactly everything that's going on. Listen, we're getting a sneak peek here of the new podcast.
We're giving everything away.
The game on Sunday.
Yeah, where did that come from?
Where did you get that name from? How did you come up with that, Michael?
We employed a team of PR people.
Huge team of people.
Huge team who worked on this thing for weeks and weeks, and we said, you know what? Let's call it the game.
The game on Sunday.
Not to be confused.
Not to be confused with the Sunday game. Yeah.
You used to do something on a thing called the Sunday game, didn't you?
In what sense?
You used to do a bit of work there, yeah?
No. Did I?
I don't know. The game on Sunday.
The game on Sunday,
if we're getting a small
good PR.
If we're getting a small sneak peek of it now, we don't even have Pat Spillane, the third wheel on this as well. Because when you had a producer and you were on a show, you could kind of try and rein him in. Like, how are you going to do it on a podcast?
Do you know what
That's a very good question. We've had the first edition, and fellas said to me, Jesus, does Spillane give you a chance to talk at all?
Yeah, no, but the good thing about it, Tomás, from the one that we did, and I think this is the case going forward with it, presenting the Sunday game or any sports show or any show, obviously, you have a time limitation. You have a certain time slot, and that's it. And if you're chatting at half-time in a match, you have maybe 7 minutes, you know, and that's it. And no matter how good the conversation is, you've got to get out of there because you might have another break to take, or you're going back to the match or whatever. The thing that I enjoyed about last week's one, Tomás, chatting to you, we had time to let it breathe. Yes. You know, we had time to let it, because even when Spillane was finished talking, we still had a bit of time.
Did she? Was there any oxygen? Left in the room?
We did, to be fair. And the one good thing for me was I let him talk away because he was talking hurling. I got him to change his mind to say hurling is a fantastic game.
This interesting?
I really love what I'm seeing.
Because you were a dual player originally. You did them both. So, you know, you could do... Having Pat Spillane putting the oar in about hurling. That's got to be fun.
Yeah, but there was a bit of banter and there was a bit of crack about it. But look, I mean, again, he would have been of the same kind of... This all came from terms of the quality that was there. Everybody's talking about hurling for the last number of weeks, and football was maybe a bit overshadowed by it because of the quality that was there. So he had no other choice but to say hurling. Yeah, you know, admit hurling has been fantastic. Yeah,
he didn't hold back on the first podcast as well, talking about what you're going to get on this podcast. Yes, and he did say that all the current pundits, they've all come through media training. We didn't. We're going to tell you exactly the way it is.
And I think. Look, I'm sitting alongside of this legend, right? Yeah. I mean, that I had 25 years working with. This man was just phenomenal because, like, trying to cover matches in terms of you have a hurling match at 2 o'clock and then he's going straight at 3:30 over to a football match to do a football broadcast exactly the same. And, like, to do it in a manner that he did was just fantastic.
Well, I think, Tomás, to be honest with you, I had a little bit more freedom in the sense that just looking at it now from the outside, looking in, if you like, I think everything is being micromanaged a little bit, you know.
Yes. Is this compared to Joanne, say? Because we saw the discussion with her and Dunlogue last
Joanne
week.
Cabell,
And, so do you think it's maybe... She doesn't get the free rein maybe you got?
Well, she's well able to look after herself. There's no problem there at all, kind of. And I think what happened there was it turned into a kind of a verbal boxing match, if you know.
But isn't that what we want?
Of course it is, yeah. I mean, like, during the week afterwards, people were taking sides.
Yeah.
People were saying Donald Logue was wrong, and people were saying she shouldn't have pushed him, and blah, blah, blah. But that's what it's all about, you know. To have a chat about it, to have people talking about it afterwards, that's part of what the whole thing is about.
But do you worry? Because there is so much more freedom on your own podcast than how it would with a producer in your ear telling you what you have to do and can't do and you've gone outside the lines. Do you worry then about that freedom and how people react these days? Because they can go from 0 to death threat in 5 seconds. You know, it's gotten a bit mad on social media. Like, have you talked about that amongst yourselves?
That's a huge factor in it because, like, back in the day, like with the guys and the football panellists and all that kind of stuff, you know, the biggest reaction you would get would be, maybe in the pub on a Sunday night afterwards, when fellas are chatting about it, kind of, and saying so-and-so is you know, this, that and the other and whatever. Whereas now it's instant. It's bang, bang, bang on the social media, straight, even as you're speaking, kind of, you know. Yeah. And that has changed the whole scene.
And that has changed that has changed for the players. Even come back from Limerick yesterday, you know, you're kind of looking at messages and, my God... And some of the players getting brutal, very, very
hard. They've left it all out in the pitch.
There was none of that in our time, to be honest with you, for the modern player, right, you know. But look, I think the other side of the podcast, right, is the experience that we've had over that period of time and kind of bringing back some of those memories. We had incredible times. You couldn't say a bad word, but if we can bring that to our audience in terms of what we had, in terms of the hurling side of it, the Jarlath Nans, bring new guests in there, bring some of the older guys, but bring some of the younger guys. Maybe get an opportunity to do a few roadshows, take it around the country and that side of it.
Trying to get a word in with a lot of you as well. Listen,
I'd say they'll be talking about a few nights out they've had as well, maybe.
Yes,
you never know.
Exactly. One or two.
Listen, it's a pleasure to have you in as well. The new podcast, The Game, on Sunday. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
And there's great picture.
There's also, Tom, there's a website, thegameonsunday.com, if people want information as to how they can log on to the...
To get the podcast and everything like that.
If you want to download the picture of them with their shorts
with their shorts.
Exactly. Yeah.
Stick it on the wall. It'd be lovely. Pleasure having you both
Thanks very much
here.
indeed.
Thanks, Mulcahy.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We've got seafood and lots more coming up in the next hour.
You're very welcome, Jack. Jack O'Keefe is serving up seafood medley. Just everything's deep fried.
You're very welcome, Jack.
We're lucky my hand isn't deep fried.
What are we having?
So we're having a Frito Misto. And it's like if you're on, when everybody's going on holidays nowadays to Italy. It's like the trending place. If you can get there, you can park the car.
If you parked your car, if you got a deal.
And when you do park the car and you do get there, you're going to, especially if you're at a seaside resort, you're going to be introduced to Frito Misto, which is a mix of fried fish. Anything. And it's brilliant at the weekend if you're having friends over or whatever and you're gathering around. Ideally, have a deep fried fryer. If not, you can use a pot with oil in it, maybe a temperature probe to gauge the heat.
So a seafood melody, deep back fried.
And I always chuck veggies through it as well and deep fried all at the same time.
So I've had deep fried broccoli, deep fried asparagus,
Okay,
Tastes much better when it's deep
And even
fried.
deep fried sage leaves, everything, a few slices of lemon,
Try a
and it's
bit of
amazing.
lemon.
Right,
Try a
so to
lemon
start
over
off this, I just went in the local supermarket, picked up a mix of different types of fish, frozen and fresh. Fresh lemon sole, frozen squid tubes or calamari, frozen prawn tails, and some frozen mussel meat that I just defrosted this morning. That's all there, ready to go. In my bowl here, I have 300 grams of plain flour, normal cream flour you get in the supermarket, 100 grams of corn flour, and about half a teaspoon of baking powder. In on top of that, a pinch of salt and some sparkling water.
Sparkling water?
You see the kind of the rise here in the crust, where it's puffy, like almost like a piece of bread.
You're getting that out of the sparkling water.
Exactly. It's the sparkling water and the baking powder reacting together to get that puff.
You ever heard of that? No. Never heard of
Now,
that.
you can also use like a nice artisan beer or a nice cider, and it gives a lovely kind of kick to your fish and chips.
Instead of the water?
Instead of water, yeah.
All right.
Anything with a sparkle.
Okay, so if I used just still water, it wouldn't have the kind of fluffiness
fluffy
almost, is it?
Look at the way it's frothy.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have the same air in it. It'd be more dense, heavy, kind of chewy, where you get that lovely light crunch off this.
Now, been doing cooking
Very
slots
interesting.
for how long, and I've never heard that.
In on top of your fish, bang some
Asparagus
more
is
plain
really
flour.
good, isn't it?
Asparagus is lovely, isn't it?
That more plain flour will help the batter stick to them. Grab your tongs.
Sorry, what? You just poured a bit of flour over it?
Just pour
over
flour. And just doesn't have to be absolutely
But
perfect.
those sole are quite big pieces then. They're not like small little
No,
chunks.
nice chunks. So we'll do the sole first.
Because that takes the least time, would it? Or
They're all roughly around the same size, so they all cook at the same time.
Throw a few prawns in there as well.
Into a hot oil that's set to 190 degrees Celsius for about just barely a minute.
Okay.
You'll see the colour change, and once it goes golden, it's good to go.
So yeah,
Anto, you need that camera on your shoulder to come in and see this.
So then we have, let's pop in some of the mussels.
Do you need to turn it over?
Yeah, I'll kind of stir that now in a
flip them?
second.
Okay.
I'll just kind of shake the oil a little bit. Now you can use a basket, but I'm not using the basket. I prefer just to use the tongs, just because everything tends to stick to the basket.
All right.
Pop it in. Obviously, when you're working with hot oil, just be very careful. Never leave a hot pan of oil or a deep fried fire unaccompanied in the kitchen, especially if there's little ones or a dog or a cat around.
Now, what sort of oil is that?
That's just plain old vegetable oil.
Vegetable oil,
Yeah.
okay.
You can use
it
peanut
wouldn't
oil or
be-
whatever
It's
if you
obviously
wanted.
not a
Oh, God, no.
healthy. No. Okay.
We're not going healthy this
I'm
morning.
not even going to
Tommy.
try and pretend.
But even because when you're on holidays and you have a glass of wine, whatever else, you're outside, you kind of feel like everything you eat's healthy on holidays. Yeah.
Right, just to be a bit mad, some broccoli florets that I've just chopped up.
But like I had the deep fried broccoli was gorgeous.
That's healthy. There you go.
Yeah,
Everything
no,
deep fried is
and we're
perfect.
having asparagus.
Right, I just agitate the oil there a little bit. Let that all.
Are they the asparagus?
I don't know what this is.
French,
that?
there's some mussel meat,
Mussel.
some French
mussel.
beans, some asparagus.
Put that one back.
Now, right, as a dipping sauce for our fried, we're going to take.
It's deep fried, you don't taste anything. All you taste is the batter.
I mean, that's kind of it, isn't it? You could just throw anything in there, you're not going to taste it.
So just going to make a very quick garlic aioli, which is a fancy way
yum.
of saying garlic mayonnaise.
Yum.
So I just split an egg, put the egg yolk in, just a chopped garlic clove and some Dijon mustard in there. And then I have some extra virgin olive oil and my trusty blender. And just start blending and just start pouring the oil in slowly.
Okay.
Wait for it all to come together. So see, we just put in a little bit
That's how
first.
you like make mayonnaise or garlic mayonnaise. Aioli, sorry.
Exact same technique as mayonnaise, except with the mayonnaise. you
What's
would
gone in there again, tell us?
egg yolk,
Egg yolk,
Dijon mustard,
Dijon mustard.
garlic clove, and just olive oil. And just start adding in the olive oil slowly, bit by bit.
Do you want me to take out the fish for you?
No, that should
No,
be
it's
fine.
that's not brown enough to.
How do you know it's done?
I just look for the colour.
Yeah, because there's still a little bit. Oh my God, what's that? Is that the fish?
Yeah, you see, because the
broccoli
fryer
stuck
is
to it.
small, so everything sticks to each other.
all right.
Which is good, you get like a fried fish sandwich. There's always silver linings, you know?
Lovely.
I'm loving
Right.
this now. I'd say that tastes gorgeous. And would you just put that in a bowl so people can dip it in themselves? Or
Exactly,
would
yeah.
you put that over it? No, just in a bowl. where
Just a
people-
big thick dollop at the side of the
Let's get it
platter.
out here, Jack. Let's go so people we
Right.
can have a look at it quickly.
So, I've messed up and I poured in the oil too quickly. See where it's
Okay.
runny?
Yeah.
I dumped it in very quickly. I should have poured it nice and slowly and pulsed at the same time. It would have thickened up like a mayonnaise.
Want to throw anything else onto this?
We'll put it in there. Put it in there so we can still have a taste. Oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah.
Right? And then you have all these beautiful pieces of fried fish in.
Let's have a look at a bit of fish there.
And the fried broccoli. Just drain it off, pop it up on top. Again, something like a sun-dried tomato pesto goes phenomenal with this.
Very nice. Frito Misto.
Frito Misto.
Very good.
Bit of lemon on top
as well.
No.
Jack, thank you so much. Perfect and so simple. Now, after the break, Deric is plotting and planting, and we're all going to be learning about the soil. See you in a few minutes.
Hello, welcome back to Ireland AM. Deric is in Airfield Estate, Dublin's only urban working farm, where he's not afraid to get his hands dirty, apparently. You all right there, Deric? How's the manicure?
Not at all. Yeah, absolutely. Come here. We're learning all about the importance of soil here this morning. And did you know that a tablespoon of soil contains over 10 million organisms? It's absolutely incredible. Kirstie McAdoo is with us here this morning, as well as all our little eco-warriors from Little School Montessori. They're very busy here this morning. Anyway, Kirstie, let's talk about soil and the importance of it.
Absolutely. Well, soil is incredibly important. It provides 95% of our food, indirectly or directly. It cleans our water, it stores carbon for us. There's pretty much nothing that soil doesn't do for us.
But I think we really take soil for granted because it is everywhere. We walk on it, it's around us, but we don't really see it.
Yeah, we don't really think about it on a day-to-day basis, but it's really, really important. Like I said, it produces most of our food. And some experts suggest that we have between 60 and 100 harvests left before soil becomes inert, and that means no more food.
Let's talk about food security. Where are we at in the world?
So at the minute, it's really important to start thinking about what we can do to help soil. Farmers are the guardians of soil and they're doing a great job, but we need, as a public, to do something for it as well. And so when you come to the exhibition at Airfield Estate, you get to learn about it, what you can do, positive changes, small changes that you can keep on making that'll make a real difference.
Climate change has a big impact in soil. In fact, we're losing over 40 billion tonnes of soil across the planet each and every year.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes up to 400 years to make just 1 centimetre. So that maths just doesn't add up unless we start really taking care of our soil. So doing things like buying organic, farming regeneratively, these are all processes that help us build up soil as we're taking food from it.
Let's talk about soil formation and the soil food web, very closely linked.
Absolutely. 25% of our biodiversity is actually held within the soil. So unless that's right, the biodiversity on top of the soil won't be good either. So it's a wonderful story of the soil food web. There's lots of poo involved from the animals that eat the grass and eat the invertebrates. They take that poop and they make it into nutrients that are available for the plants, which then grow and the whole cycle starts again.
As you said, the farmers really, they are guardians of the land and they've been doing it for centuries. But it's not just up to the farmers to look after the soil, it's up to us as well.
Absolutely. So it's up to us to do simple things like reduce our food waste. For any food waste that we produce, we compost it, buying a bit more organic, learning what regenerative farming is, and really starting to try and promote farmers that do that, and just really start working towards caring for our soil, maybe rewilding some of our own gardens, for example.
Now, you have a great exhibition here this morning. I was inside earlier on. Tell us about what's going on.
So in the exhibition at Airfield, we really want people to, we want to worm our way into people's affections. And we want people to really dig in and understand what soil is about. So when you come to the exhibition, it's all about learning how soil is made. There's interactive exhibitions. There's a giant microscope in there that gets you right down into the soil and see things that you wouldn't normally see, and just learn how alive soil is. It also is a communication method, so we talk about the wood wide web that lets trees talk to each other and send nutrients. So there's so much to learn about soil.
And what I love about it as well inside is quite interactive.
Yeah, it is, and it's about learning is fun. I don't know how many times I have to keep telling people as an ex-teacher, learning is great fun, but it is about getting people excited about soil and really just experiencing it for themselves in a way that's not just an irritation under their fingernails, but actually this is really important for life on Earth.
And here at Airfield Estate itself, you practice a lot of regenerative farming.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see the whole farm and the gardens here as a whole system. So that means that we're using our livestock on the farm responsibly. We have crop rotations, making sure that the soil is always covered, that there's always a root system in there, and that there's always something for that biodiverse, all of those microorganisms to eat.
All right. Where can we find you online, by the way, before we let you go?
So we're airfield.ie and we're Airfield Estate on all of our social media.
Okay, there we have it, guys. And we have all our little eco-warriors. They've got their worms here as well this morning. They're having great fun, guys. Back to you in studio.
Very much.
Cute.
I tell you what, my kids love this. Like Emma was carrying around a little earthworm and wood lice and all. It's brilliant, just playing with the soil, get their hands dirty.
All
So
weekend.
good for kids.
Gorgeous.
Well done.
So thank you for that, Deric. Now, still to come, we're going to be dissecting the minds of psychopaths and how to identify, to spot one in society. How do you do it?
How do you do it?
I wonder.
Cork celebrity stunt double on faking it as Jessica Chastain.
Let's get your workout gear ready because we're going to try out hybrid yoga. Namaste. See you in a few minutes.
Hello, if you have just joined us, as you saw on the screen, you're watching Ireland AM. That's us.
We're here till 10.
We are. Still to come, we suss out how to spot psychopaths and serial killers of one of the UK's leading crime experts, Emma Kenny.
Can you actually spot? Is she going to tell you how you can spot someone? From West Cork to West Coast.
Hiding in plain sight.
We meet the Clonakilty stunt performer working with some of Hollywood's biggest stars.
Absolutely. Tommy now, he's limbering up for today's fitness feature. What's happening, Tommy?
No, I haven't changed yet, Al, but I'm definitely limbering up. We've all heard of high-intensity interval training or HIIT training. We've all tried yoga. Well, today we're going to combine the two. Hybrid yoga. Hazel's with us as well. Tell us, what is hybrid yoga, Hazel?
So hybrid yoga is a big trend at the moment. It's a combination of traditional yoga with other forms of exercise. So today we're going to do a yoga sculpt, which is yoga with weights.
Okay.
Are you ready?
How, like, Alan's going to need bigger ones than these 2
yeah,
kilos. What do
totally,
you
yeah.
think?
Oh, definitely. We're going to be strapping on some ankle weights as well.
Okay.
Just for extra intensity.
So it's not going to be too relaxing, it's going to be a tough workout.
It's going to be a tough workout. Short, but sweet.
Brilliant, just what we need. Work off that seafood medley we had earlier on. Catch you later on. That's going to be up at 9:45. Now, Deric, what's the weather looking like?
Tommy, I want to see you do a handstand again like you did last week. Anyway, we're learning all about the importance of soil. We're having lots of fun here this morning. Kirstie, I believe this is your little fella.
This is my little soil monkey. Yes, he is. Always in it. Always covered in it.
Absolutely. And a big wave, guys, to everyone here in Little Scoop Montessori. Big wave. 1, 2, 3, big wave. They're fascinated by soil. Back to you guys in studio. Now, look.
Fascinated by soil.
Love them, aren't they great?
They're so cute. We've got lots more coming up, obviously, as we said. But
We compare 14 insurance quotes to get you the best deal. So choose chill and work smarter, not harder.
Yes, thank you very much, Ger. We're live here in Airfield Estate, Dundrum and County Dublin this morning. We've got all our little eco-warriors here from Little School Montessori. They're having lots of fun learning about soil here this Monday. The future's very bright. And in fact, in terms of weather, it is a bright start out to this morning. You'll be glad to hear that lovely ridge of high pressure is keeping conditions nice and dry, sunny and settled. A bit of cloud cover lingering around as well, but that's where that sunshine winning out now. Those light to locally moderate easterly breezes. Now, right across the in fact, that high pressure is centred just to the northwestern corner of the country. It's not budging anywhere for the next couple of days. In fact, we're going to see nice dry sunny weather right across into the weekend as well. The UV index is quite high, so that means a high risk of sunburn once again out there today. Get the sunscreen on and stay safe. We're talking temps warmest through parts of the west up to 21, 22 degrees, a little bit cooler into eastern areas there at 17 to 18 degrees at tops. Right across that into tonight, mainly dry, calm and settled underneath that high cloud cover. We're going to see some patchy mist as well forming. Take its way into your Tuesday morning and holding pretty stable, pretty steady in terms of those temperatures, with overnight lows back to around 7 to 11 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up for now. We'll be back again live for a final update at 9:35.
Chill Insurance work harder so you can work smarter. We compare 14 quotes to get you the best deal.
We've got loads of messages on this.
Loads of messages in about the airport parking fees.
Yeah.
Heading to Spain in June, it's cost €200 for 2 weeks. Before COVID, the car park would have been around €80.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was travelling to Malaga last September with my wife. The car park was going to cost us €157 for the week. Needless to say, we didn't book.
And how about this? I booked the blue car park over a month ago for June dates. It was €64 a week. I just checked yesterday, and for the exact same spot, it's gone up to €121.
Finbar said, I landed into Dublin from Copenhagen last Friday at 11:30 in the evening. The last bus to go down the country left at 11 o'clock, which left so many people absolutely stranded and can't get home. I travel every week in Europe for work, and travelling and stress of it is getting worse by the week. The previous week, I got a train from Mallow to Houston Station and a taxi across the airport. I was away for 10 days, and using the train plus a taxi was cheaper than parking.
It would be, yeah, because the train, and even just like, you might call it a luxury, but from Houston to the airport, a taxi and back is even cheaper than that.
And Mary says, I live in West Cork, and if I was to use Dublin Airport, I don't have a bus service passing my door. I'd have to get a spin to my local town to get a bus to Cork City, then get the air coach to Dublin, or drive to Dublin and get parking. Why can't they give Shannon or Cork Airport more of the services?
Just
get more flights from those areas.
But that's the decision of, we'll say, Ryan or whatever, isn't it?
This one, like, you have to wonder. Pat says a dedicated rail line connection to Dublin Airport.
Been talking about that for years. I know.
Like, what's taking so long? We have all this money in surplus.
We are one of the few capital cities in the world that doesn't have a rail link to their airport.
It's just like, it's so backwards, isn't it?
It really is.
But again, we can't be trusted with big capital projects. It's like you want to bring someone else in.
They built the tunnel. I mean, they're well able to do it.
They're well able to do it, and they'll go way over budget. It's like there has to be someone who rails in spending with the Irish government, because when it comes to capital projects, we're awful at it.
It doesn't mean we cannot build anything for that reason.
I agree with you, but there has to be someone to go, OK, let's not make it cost €8 billion.
Well, that would be great. Do it to a private contractor.
I do think we have to check that, because they can't surely, if the same space a month ago was 64 and it's now 121, surely there's a set charge. And then we were talking about earlier on about the quick park and the competition.
They have dynamic pricing models.
What does that mean?
So when it gets busier, it's supply and demand.
It's like Uber. It's like any of these things. Yeah.
Supply and demand. If the demand goes up, price is going to go up.
Thank you for sending in those text messages. And it is quite frightening that if you're trying to book your holidays, make sure when you're booking your flights, book the parking as well.
You can. Now, after the break, something much calmer than trying to park at the airport. We're going to be finding out how psychopaths and serial killers are created. We'll bring the blood pressure down. We'll touch you shortly on Ireland.
To do with parking.
Yeah.
You're very welcome back. Now, the next chat is for all those true crime fans out there, as we discover the personality traits of psychopaths and dissect the minds of serial killers.
It's a lot to fit into 7 minutes. I'm going to be honest. Psychological therapist and crime commentator Emma Kenny joins us now. Emma, it is a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much. So, how do we find out if we're living next to a serial killer? How will we be able to spot them, Emma?
Well, you see, that's one of the big problems, that they're not necessarily the easiest to spot, particularly if they're an organised or mostly organised offender, because they kind of plan exactly what they're going to do and they kind of know how they're going to do it. And that's why they are so troubling when they do statistically very rarely arrive.
Okay, wow. Because you are a psychological therapist and crime commentator. So, like, how were you always involved? Did you love true crime? Did you love kind of getting into the minds of these people?
So I guess that really my journey started when I just realised I was incredibly nosy but very confidential. So I'm somebody that you can tell things, but I'm not going to go and tell other people. And so I wanted from a really early age to start working on a journey, I guess, with people wherever they were going to go because of their psychological distress. And then I ended up going and working with young offenders for 10 years. And then during that experience, I realised that most young offenders are actually victims too. And that brought me into my victimology journey, which is where I specialised with people who'd had really inhospitable experiences whilst they were kids. And because of that work and then falling into the media, because I did just fall into it, that allowed me to start bridging that gap between what people think goes on in the minds of killers and what actually we know goes on to some degree, which is what it was such a privilege to start doing, the TV shows that I've done. And I guess then my desperate need to get the facts across, because TV doesn't always do that. I'm sure you guys are aware. We like to tell a story which is pretty black and white. That's a good person, that's a bad person. But for me, the YouTube, etc., and being able to deep dive and show people that actually very often there's this crossover, that offenders are victims too, and to kind of understand the pen portrait of possibility. How are these people created? And do we have the potential to deflect that behaviour? So that's kind of an amalgamation of what brought me on my tour and also brought me to this point where I absolutely love true crime, because I think it teaches us so much about the variability of different human experience and the fact that most human beings are incredibly lovely and not like these killers.
So let's talk about whether nature versus nurture in relation to this, because obviously if we take serial killers like Fred and Rose West. Fred West had 2 massive falls when he was a young man that seemed to change his personality. Rose West, when she was in the womb, her mother was having electroconvulsive therapy. So with something like this, does that change who they are as human beings, that there was nothing that they could do about it? Or are you like that before you even arrive into the world? Which is it, do we think?
I mean, I think that's one of the big debates. Don't get me wrong, Fred West seemed to consistently fall on his head pretty much from birth. It was quite unbelievable the amount of head injuries he had. Rose West was somebody with also quite severe developmental delay that made her more vulnerable. I think the reality there is that you have 2 people who should never have met meeting and colliding on their malevolent levels. But I would say, originally, when I started my work, I used to believe that everything was nurture. You know, that we basically have this blank slate and then people were developed by their experiences, their parenting, the socialisation, education. And nowadays, I just don't feel quite as comfortable with that. I would probably say I think about 70% of it is genetic and then the rest is what happens. And arguably, certain head injuries absolutely is going to have an impact. Look, if you've got any kind of frontal lobe damage, that could have an impact on your personality. It's definitely going to have an impact on your impulse control. But even then, the average person with that kind of issue, they might be a bit more reactive, but they're not going around planning the demise of other human beings. And that's the distinction.
So in your role as a psychotherapist, you have to meet young offenders who are going through a difficult time. Like, do you have sympathy for these young people who are maybe brought up in bad circumstances, who I suppose if they don't have your intervention could go down the wrong path?
I mean, I've watched outcomes with some of the young people that I've worked with when they were offending and then coming to my project to kind of try to be rehabilitated and think about new directions. And for the most part, those young people were victims. So high-level abuse at home, wrong postcode, wrong parents, wrong priorities because their lives weren't given the privilege that they were offered in other circumstances to be born to other parents. So certainly I've seen people who have come and stopped offending to a degree. And I think that that's the thing when you're working with young offenders. It's not all about hope and glory and total transition. It's just about deflecting behaviour so they're not living a less, more a social life that is going to be so negative that it's going to damage society. I've also worked with people where, if I'm honest, from the get-go, I kind of knew there was very little that I was going to be able to do. Because if somebody is hitting psychopathy levels where it's problematic, you know that therapeutic intervention isn't always going to be the thing that's going to be effective. But I have a deep sympathy and empathy for a lot of these young people and people in prison. I mean, when you look at the statistics in prison of men, particularly who have been sexually abused in childhood, it's off the scale. But I understand that people struggle to find sympathy because the truth is, arguably, there are a lot of people who've had horrendous childhoods and they've gone on to be incredible human beings. So choice plays into that as well.
I suppose nowadays, when we're talking about something like a serial killer, a spree killer is different. There are all these different categories.
Yes.
And you look at someone like, you know, we've got the vanishing triangle here in Ireland where so many Irish women, their disappearances have gone unsolved. If you look at someone like the Yorkshire Ripper, Peter Sutcliffe, he kept falling through, like he kept on just escaping, the skin of his teeth. He kept escaping for years. Do you think that with scientific advancements and things like DNA, and because we've got CCTV all over the place and people always have their phones out, that serial killers could become a thing of the past?
I don't think they'll ever become a thing of the past, because I don't think that to some degree there is anything else that they can do. I think it's a little bit like if you have a particular dark predilection, a particular fetish, a particular desire, the overwhelming reality is that you're going to want to play that out. So I think they'll just get better at how they do it and where they do it. I do think you're right. One of the things that has changed massively is scientific advancements, DNA, forensic anthropology, the opportunity to see people on CCTV, and also, with respect, you know, the police, etc., can get a really bad rep at times because they are called into account for things that are incorrect and wrong in their establishment. But with respect, they do want to bring people to justice, and they work very hard to do so. So if I was an organised serial killer, I'm not sure that I would be doing it in my local area, because I would know that it's going to be far more difficult for me to get away with it. And if you're a narcissistic serial killer who's highly psychopathic, the last thing you want is for people to steal your opportunity. And I think just as we've got incredibly good at finding these kind of individuals who are incredibly rare, so too have they got very good at knowing how to escape apprehension. And that's the dichotomy of these killers.
Okay. Wow. Listen, let's get to it. I mean, it's down the serial killer next door. You've got this show coming to Vicar Street, and you share tips on helping people to identify if they live next door. How do people spot that? What are the tips?
Well, to be fair, what I tend to do is more teach you how to think about acting in a certain way, which may make you less likely to be a victim. Because whilst there are certain things that you could say you could see in certain individuals, particularly, for example, if they're a disorganised killer, because they're going to be more chaotic, the likelihood is it's quite difficult to spot the serial killer living next door. And one of the chinks in our armour is potentially the microtrust bias that we have in the world, where we think, well, we would be able to. So I kind of take you on a journey from the most important thing for me, which is what creates them? Can we do anything to change them? And then we kind of go through all of those different elements, and even to a point where the audience get tested on whether they might spot things that a psychopath may spot, to see whether there are some kind of crossovers between typical versus atypical behaviour. And hopefully by the end of it, there are some take-home tips that genuinely serial killers have said. If you want to avoid me, if you don't want to be a victim, this is what you need to do. And I think that's the key. We have to listen to them telling us what it is that they spot in us that makes them select us as a victim.
What? Seriously, what? Like, give me one.
Well, a lot of it is to do genuinely with being a contender, looking confident, genuinely, because if you think about the stepping stones that are going to make you a victim, and if you think about a predator, which is very much based in the how can I exploit you, then I'm going to look for particular traits in another human being that mean that you look easier to manage than somebody who, shall we say, is going to be unpredictable or difficult or challenging or fight back. So there are some real key ingredients that can prevent us from ending up, and that's not victim blaming. Nobody ever deserves to be a victim. There is nothing wrong with somebody who finds himself in that situation. But I think learning to cheat the system to your advantage, we can all learn that. I do that in high sexual trauma therapy all the time. We teach people, be a contender, look a contender, even if you feel deeply insecure inside, because that makes such a difference to your world.
Yeah. Wow, it's fascinating, all right, isn't it? I know that you know, the majority of your audience is mainly female, but when you're doing these interviews, like, have you come across people who have any wacky stories? I think you've one about somebody who is involved with cats.
Oh, I mean, that's one of those moments in my history where I just sit there going, I think there was some kind of divine comedy intervention on some really macabre level, because there had been somebody who'd been referred. They'd been referred because he was saying he was just coming up for 18. He had turned himself into the police because he was saying that he was killing cats and that he was thinking about graduating. They couldn't treat him in the psychological department at the hospital because essentially he wasn't presenting with a mental disorder as far as being mentally ill. So he was referred to me. And I remember, because we had a risk assessment level where people had kind of meant that they'd looked at any problematic behaviours that could occur, and for my safety, he walks in, I do this full assessment with him. And of course, we cover the fact that he kills cats, which is something that I find very abhorrent. I'm a big animal lover. And as I walked out after his session to see him out in the youth support department, where two of the people who'd done risk assessments with them just looked at me like there was something bizarre. And I was like, what's wrong? And they were like, are you taking the Michael? And I was like, I don't know what you're on about. And I was literally stood there in a T-shirt with a massive I love cats with a cat's head in the heart on it. And I'd done the whole session, pan-faced, not realising. He must have thought, who is this woman and why is she wearing this?
Why is she taunting me? Absolutely. Well, listen.
Exactly.
People will be hearing these stories. Your show is called The Serial Killer Next Door. It takes place at Vicar Street in Dublin on Wednesday, the 7th of June. You also have your podcast, Bang to Rights, and you've got your true crime series on YouTube as well. Emma Kenny, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. You take care.
Thanks so much. Take care. Be confident. Be confident,
cats.
everyone.
Love that.
Still to come, we're going to be hitting the mats for a hybrid yoga class.
Plus, next we're going to be talking to a Hollywood stunt woman from West Cork.
We compare 14 insurance quotes to get you the best deal. So choose chill and work smarter, not harder.
Yes, sure. Beautiful colour here with the gardens in full bloom down at Airfield Estate here in Dundrum. I hope you enjoyed learning all about soil earlier on this morning. Don't forget, tomorrow morning we're heading off to the heart of the Midlands because we're off to visit a vintage car show ahead of the weekend as well. So that's all to come live from Portlaoise in County Laois tomorrow morning from 7. Now, final look at weather, and we've had the most beautiful start out to this morning. I hope you're managing to get out and about and enjoy that bit of sunshine, and in fact plenty of it now to take us through the next couple of hours in those light to locally moderate easterly breezes. Across today, that ridge of high pressure is just centred off the northwestern corner of the country, so that's once again bringing with the dry, sunny and settled weather. A little bit of cloud cover, hazy at times in terms of those bright spells, but all eyes once again on those temps. It's going to be a mild, warm day in fact to parts of the west, with values there at 17 to 22 degrees. Get the sunscreen on. And finally then tonight, mainly dry, calm and settled because of that high cloud cover. Once again, we're going to see some patchy mist feeding its way into your Tuesday morning, but a pretty decent day in store into tomorrow as well. Lots of sunshine to be enjoyed with overnight lows back to 7 to 12 degrees. So for me and Ronan here on cameras, that's your final weather update now this Monday morning.
Chill Insurance work harder so you can work smarter. We compare 14 quotes to get you the best deal.
Hello, you're very welcome back. Now, from Jessica Chastain to Hugh Grant, our next guest.
Hugh Grant?
has rubbed shoulders with some of Hollywood's biggest movie stars.
Was he doing drag in that film? Cork native Avril Murphy joins us now to talk about her career as a stunt performer.
Not doing stunts as Hugh Grant. Rubbed shoulders out.
You've worked with him. Yes. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. We were just chatting off air there how fascinating your job was, but you started off as a dancer, so how did you progress to being a stunt person?
Absolutely. So yeah, I was a professional dancer all my life, and it was actually when I was doing the musical Grease in the Cork Opera House, I was approached by a friend of mine who worked in the hair department, and she recommended me for Vikings, and I thought, oh God, yeah, I'll give that a go. And 2 weeks later, I was up doing the audition, doing a very intense fight scene with the coordinator. Then a couple of weeks after, I was out with Catherine Winnick, doubling the main actress. So it was very fast kind of turnaround, and as well, I suppose for me, being a dancer and stunts, the skills do transfer over quite well, because if you think of it, it's all just choreography, it's a dance sequence, it's a fight sequence. Plus, I'm the only girl of 3 brothers, so I definitely learned how to fight and take, yeah, exactly, as I was growing up. So that helped massively.
So different in terms of stunts. There's different tiers, different levels of it. So for you, it's like dance with fight scenes. A bit. You're not like throwing yourself out of buildings and stuff, right?
Well, you can be. So absolutely. So depending what skills you have. So for myself, for example, I was a professional dancer all my life, a gymnast. I did martial arts. I did horse riding. So that would be my skill set. So you know, if there was a motorbike stunt, I'm not your woman for it. But definitely, you know, absolutely, that's why we train very hard. You know, we were always keeping fit because you can work your way up to very, very dangerous stunts. So there's a whole mix of stuff depending on what your skill set is. So,
and tell us about, you were doubling, you were a body double for Jessica Chastain. So what was the movie and what did you have to do?
Yeah, so that was 355. So there was a whole range of stuff. We were filming in Paris, which was very exciting, down the metro. There was lots of gun scenes, lots of chase scenes, lots of kind of a little bit of fighting as well. It was fantastic. I mean, you know, Jessica Chastain, she's fantastic. She's a redhead, she's an inspiration, she's a beautiful actress. And yeah, I got to do lots of meaty choreography with her as well.
And
so
how closely do you work with her on that? Like, are you like, so does she watch
the two of them?
Does she watch the scene then after she stops and you take it over? So she has it in her head. That's what I've done.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. So absolutely. So when you're doubling an actress, you've got to really watch their movement and see their mannerisms, what character they're playing, what's their relationship to everyone in the scene. And it's your job to literally mimic what they do. And obviously, you've got to know your stunts and your fight scenes because sometimes Jessica might say, actually, Avril, I'm going to jump in at this point here. So you're like,
so she'd be watching you and she'd go, I might be able to manage to do that bit.
If it's not too risky, and not too, you know, dangerous, she'll jump in. So you've got to be ready to help her with that as well. So there's lots involved, you know, and as well, you know, you sometimes can spend a lot of time in hair and makeup to try and get yourself to look as close as possible to her as well. So
I mean, it's an amazing world to get into, to go from dancing, like you're from Clonakilty as well, into this, I mean, blockbuster movies.
Yeah.
You must be a bit of a hero at home.
Yeah, in fairness. No, I mean, it's wonderful. I suppose growing up, I did gymnastics. I was always doing my dance classes 3-4 times a week. I did horse riding. I was doing always acting and drama. I've always had a massive passion for acting as well. So when I got the Dungeons and Dragons part, you know, it was fantastic because not only was I doing stunts, but I did an audition with a lot of other people and I got picked and I thought, this is wonderful. It's exactly what I want to do and push forward with the acting. So I had a little small role in that. And absolutely, it's brilliant because, you know, I suppose I've always tried to keep myself quite humble and I'm very grateful for everything that's come into my life. And my family and friends are delighted. You know, they're absolutely delighted and they love watching it. So
and do you want to pursue the acting? Is that what you want to do?
100%, yeah. So I've done acting since I was a kid. I've absolutely loved it. I've had small little roles over the years in the movies, but I suppose stunts has kind of taken over. So I'm just trying to take a little break. I've been taking a break on stunts the last while just to kind of finalise my reel and show reel, push my acting, get back into that. But also, I kind of my friends and family are always saying, you should do TV presenting, which I'm very open to.
Come on, there you go. Absolutely. Yeah. There's your audition piece this morning.
There we go,
We can do it, anyone can, to be honest with you.
But, you know, I just said, I'd love it. And so I'm very open to everything, you know, and if you have any tips or tricks, please do let me know.
Well, I tell you, you're fabulous as you are.
Tell us, though, like going back to the stunts, like what sort of, have you done any dangerous ones? Anything that really stands out that you're kind of thinking, oh, wow, like, or even what sort of preparation goes into them?
Yeah. So I did have, there was one in Moonhaven, so I was doubling an actress that had a flat back suicide fall. So when you hear that as a stunt performer, it's a little bit, ooh. So basically, I was taken up to rehearse on this cherry picker about 23 foot up in the air, and you have to shuffle back, you know, backwards, and you're looking down, obviously, quite a way down, and there's cardboard boxes and mats and everything. We rehearsed that, so you literally have to it's a suicide fall, so she just literally gives in.
Yeah.
But you have to keep very horizontal, so you have to tuck your chin, you know, clench your teeth a little bit so you don't bite your tongue. So lots to think about, but while you're keeping flat. So I did that about 20 times.
20 times.
And I had a bit of a concussion after that. But those moments, are kind of like, whew, a bit scary, a bit risky, but
it must be annoying whenever you do something like that and say, yeah, we'd like you to do it again.
Yeah. Well, the dream is a one-take wonder, you know, you get it. But with this stuff, you know, camera angles, things change. You've got to be, you know, willing to, or be able to adapt. That's why you've got to be very fit as well, because you can do multiple takes of the same scene. Yeah.
And it must be so frustrating sometimes you do that and do all that and then it's cut from the movie.
Absolutely. You're like, I can't wait to see my fight scene. Oh,
and it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, you're like, great.
Listen, Avril, it's a pleasure to have you in here as well. I presume you're back home in Clonakilty at the minute, but if people want to find you on Avi Murphy on Instagram, whatever else. Continued success.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much.
I can see you now presenting something very soon.
And I can see us going into stunts very soon as well. Avril, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Now, speaking of, we might need you next. We're going to have to do a bit of stretching because out next, we're going to be put through our paces with hybrid yoga. Look at that.
See you in a couple of minutes. Staying with us now. Most of us would associate yoga with a nice, slow, relaxing pace, but not today. We're going to feel the burn.
Oh, we'll see. Yoga instructor Hazel Buckley is here to tell us more about hybrid yoga. But before, she's going to take us through a bit of a workout in a few minutes. Good morning to you, Hazel. Great to have you with us.
Good morning, guys.
We always
Thanks
need
for
a
having
bit
me.
of a nice relax in the morning, don't we? We're very stressed in
Lovely
the show.
way to end the show.
Can we just mention Tommy's toes here, though? Can we see Tommy's toes here? Look at...
My daughter painted my nails.
Look at this. That's
look, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what he's telling us.
Yeah. Thank you, Emma.
He said, "Oh yeah, my daughter did
Now,
this."
come on. It's pink, orange, yellow, and purple. Anyway, enough about my nails. Thank you for getting my socks and shoes off this morning.
I tell you, it's great.
How did you get into this Sculpt yoga? Because we've seen so much about HIIT training and yoga. You kind of blended the two.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've been teaching yoga for over 14 years. I did yoga for the first time when I was 18, but I've been teaching it for over 14 years, and I've been teaching lots of different styles of yoga. But one thing about Yoga Sculpt that I love is that it attracts people that don't normally do yoga. Because often, you know, I'd hear from people and they'd say, oh, yoga is boring and it's too slow. Whereas this kind of draws people in that want to get more of a workout in a shorter time, but they want to get more intensity. So, yeah.
Now, I love this because you said you started early, you used to go with your mum, and you were a software engineer.
Yeah.
And she passed, which is really, really sad, but it made you transition, think, you know what, I'm just going to follow my passion here.
Exactly. So I took my very first class when I was 18 with my mum, and I instantly loved it. And it was kind of something I always wanted to do, but at the time I had my big girl job and I was a software engineer, which seems like a lifetime ago. It seems like the complete opposite. And then when mum passed quite suddenly, when I was 26, it kind of made me realise, you know what, life is short. And it sounds cliche, but it really does make you realise that you got to do what you love, you know, and just enjoy every day like you guys do, and just go for it, you know. So
big time.
Yeah.
And we're going to benefit from it now as well by being put through our paces. What sort of things does Sculpt yoga involve as opposed to the normal flow that you see?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess Yoga Sculpt is a combination of traditional yoga. So you're still doing the traditional yoga poses, but you have the addition of ankle weights and hand weights as well. So it's very much a combination of weights, cardio, and your traditional yoga.
Okay, so for people coming along, so we're going to, obviously this is the starters course here this morning.
No, I hear you're very fit.
Does it progressively get harder as the weeks go on if you're with it on a course?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the way that I would have it structured on my app is that, you know, you start off slow first and then you build it up. And I suppose, you know, you just always listen to your body and just do as much as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we hear the music.
Here we go. Very little.
The music is on.
Start.
Let's have a look.
So we're going to start off first on all fours. So just having your weights close by. So just having them on either side. So traditionally in yoga, we would start with a little bit of grounding first, but just because our time is precious, we'll just do nice and short and sweet. So we're going to start off first and we're going to inhale, gaze up, looking up. And then exhaling, rounding. Well done. Inhaling, lifting up.
This is grand.
Nice and gentle. Exhaling, rounding. And then one more time, inhaling, lifting up. Exhaling, rounding. So grab a hold of your weights with your right hand, so just your right weight, and we're going to extend the left leg back and extend the right arm out into a pose that's called tiger pose. So keeping your gaze down towards the inside of your left thumb, and then draw your elbow and your knee in. So these are called tiger crunches. So you start to feel it. Inhaling, drawing in, exhaling. So something that looks really easy becomes a little bit more intense.
That's not easy. I can guarantee anybody watching,
and
that's not easy.
Release the weight down. So releasing the weight down.
To be fair, I do normally find yoga real tough, never mind have to put the weights in. Anyway,
It's always good to challenge the extra.
Okay.
So thumbs touching, and we're going to step our right foot forward, and then our hands on our waist, and then just with our hands on our waist, just loosening forward and back. So just loosening out the hips, really good to get that mobility and the movement going in the hips. So let's grab a hold of our weights.
Okay.
It's getting too easy. Hands come here onto our waist,
Still on their knee.
and then we're going to curl the back toes under, and we're going to lift the back knee up. Doing all right?
Jeans are tight.
And then drop. It's a bit tricky in jeans, all right, to be fair. And then exhale, hover the back knee down, keep the front knee bent. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Just when you're laughing, it makes it harder when you're laughing.
Mother of God.
And then coming back, and then dropping the back knee.
My balance is really off there.
Your
Well,
weights
you know,
are
and with
very
the weights,
heavy out.
it definitely makes the balance a bit more challenged for sure.
Oh,
So don't be hard on yourself.
Right.
So coming back
Very
down
well.
onto all fours. So we're going to move into a bit more of a challenging pose.
Oh, great.
So just doing as much as you can. We're going to step our legs back into plank.
Yeah.
So shoulders over our wrists. And then we're going to slide our left foot towards our right foot.
Yeah.
And then we're going to slide onto the left side of the foot, and we're going to bend the right knee. So I'm going to turn to face you so you can see me. So grab a hold of the weight with the right hand, and then bring the hand onto your waist. Or just lie down in Shavasana. And then here, lifting the tap knee and tap. Oops. If you feel okay, lifting your arm up, you're doing great. And if you want to go deeper, bend the tap knee.
Oh, I can do it.
Yeah, well done.
I can do it.
And then drop the weight, well done. Coming back down onto all fours.
Okay.
And then tiptoe the hands forward, just to
Hazel,
wind
listen,
down.
thank you. So where can people find more if they want to get involved?
Yeah, so I just started this year, launched my own app called the Yoga Tree, so they can check that out.
It's called what?
The Yoga Tree.
The Yoga Tree.
Yoga Tree. And you can find it on
Instagram.
The Yoga Tree Hazel.
Yoga Tree Hazel. There you have it. We've got a busy old show coming up tomorrow as well.
So
Unfortunately, I think we've run out of time.
We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Come on, Tommy.